So today we're going to be going over the emergency bandage manufactured by Persis Medical. This is the civilian variety right here. It's in white and red. The bandage itself is in white. You may know this more commonly in some certain circles. It's referred to as the Israeli bandage. Now this is what I have in my kit, one of my kits. We stock this in the kits we sell just because it's smaller and it has a fairly effective footprint as well. But this is the one that's probably most familiar with people in the military. It has an NSN number. It's a US NSN number, commonly issued to the US military as well as militaries around the world. So it's been tried and true in battle over the last 20 or so years. So they recently, or last couple of years, have been, at least in the US market, been selling the civilian versions. Now there's not a whole lot of difference between the two other than the color, from what I understand. I think there might be a little bit different properties in the elastic compression part, but from what I understand, structurally they're the same material. It's the dye that gives it a little bit of a different feel or whatever. But some people prefer the green and the the military olive drab look when you open it up. And then for the civilian market, our thinking was that our kits are designed for sort of urban use, non-war zone. You want to be seen and visible when and if you have an injury. So rather than be kind of camouflaged, we want to be visible. So that's what I like about this evolution or iteration of the Israeli/emergency bandage. We really like Persis Medical. They're a good group of people. They make a good product, and it seems as if they are constantly innovating and updating and making their stuff better for different markets. So we really appreciate that, and that's why we went with them as kind of a central pressure bandage for our kit. It's just very effective and in a fairly small footprint. This is the 4-inch size. As you can see, it's probably about 1 inch thick, in some spaces maybe a little thinner, and it can kind of fold over, and it gets fairly small. There's no reason not to have a couple of these laying around, even just by themselves, for major cuts. But we're going to go into detail on how these work. So I've already opened one of these up, and you can see that once they're open, how much that vacuum action works to keep this thing compressed compared to, let's say, see if you can kind of see a size comparison. I mean, that's what it looks like uncompressed. So there's a lot of bandage in here, which is good, and that's another reason why we use it. It's just a lot of gauze and a lot of surface area to stop bleeding. One thing I'm not going to be able to show once I open this is one of the features of this type of bandage is what they call the stop and go technology. And so, pull this bandage out. And I've already kind of wrapped it up similar to how it would be shown when you open the package. So you open the inner bag, the inner vacuum pack, and you get a bandage like this. See if I can show you that in the frame. Now, what this isn't going to show you, because I've already opened this up and kind of practiced and trained with it a little bit, is that when you open this, it'll drop down about that far. I think you can see a notch right about there, and it won't unravel on its own. It's got a string that keeps it from falling on the ground, which keeps it clean and kind of keeps it under control and makes it easier to wrap. Otherwise, there's about 4 or 5 feet of this stuff that just would unravel on you. So I'm going to hold on to it right now, but realize that when you open this up from a new package, it won't just fall out. You can actually leave it as it is and sort of place this on the wound, and it has instructions right here again to remind you kind of how to do it. And you can apply these yourself. You'll see that it's a little difficult in a way, but it can be done, especially on a leg where you have pretty good access to it. But on an arm where you're kind of trying to use 2 hands, it's always best to use with 2 hands. It's just easier. But it's fairly straightforward, and this is kind of the magic of the deal right here. This is the pressure bar, and this is what applies direct, the theory of direct pressure to the wound. It's kind of a rigid structure, and you'll see how this works, and it almost works the same way as the rat's tourniquet, and that's why I paired these together, because it's the same theory of mechanics. So once you learn one, you kind of have the other one down. And this side right here is cool because it's a really nice big non-stick, almost like a surgical pad that's actually stitched on there. So you have this very stretchy gauze-like material that adds a lot of pressure when you start tightening it up, and you definitely feel it being your leg or arm being constricted by this thing. So I'm going to show you how this basically works. See if I can keep it in frame. Maybe I'll zoom out a little bit here if I can. Of course I'm going to do this over my pants. It'll give it a nice good contrast, but you'd of course want to use shears or a knife or whatever to cut away that any sort of to get to the wound site. But you would basically apply, let's say I have a cut here, I cut myself with a chainsaw on my leg, very common spot, left leg, top of it. I've got a really bad bleed and it's not stopping. You can basically use this, open this up, use direct pressure as you normally would with any sort of pad. That's going to absorb blood, but once you get that going, then all you really do is, again, this is going to drop down. You're going to be able to hold this, and you can do this with 2 hands or whatever because it's not going to unroll on you. So then once that happens, you're going to unhook it and you're going to wrap it around. Now, if you go into purses, the instructions just show you simply, I'll just demonstrate. The instructions on the package show you simply going through here, locking it into the pressure bar right here, and then pulling back. I really like the method that's on Persis Medical's website. You can go there and check it out if you want some reassurance that I'm showing you the correct way of doing this. But I really like their method of kind of securing the bandage, especially if you're doing this one-handed. You kind of, if you have the time, and your frame of mind is good, and you're not panicked, think about doing it this way. You can kind of secure the back of it. You can go around because there's plenty of room. There's plenty of length on this bandage. That's what I like about it. It gives you some material to work with. Then you go around the other side, and that'll lock in. That kind of locks in the part that you need to be holding firm. That locks it into the wound, so it's not going to be sliding around on you. If you don't do that, you have the potential of sliding this thing kind of back and forth when you move it. So then what you do is you go around, and now you kind of go with what the instructions say on the package. And then you lock this thing through your it's always good to practice one hand because you may be injured, so you can do it with one hand, but it's obviously easier if you have another person or if you're assisting somebody else. Now this is your pressure bar right here. You want to get that centered on your wound where you want to put as if you're putting your hand there. So then what you do, and this is sort of the invention side of it, is you can kind of get this thing tight, and you can pull relatively tight. And I've done this several times, and it hasn't hurt this material. It's very strong, it's very flexible, and very stretchy. So then what you do is you basically pull as tight as you want on that, go around again, and then you basically just go till you're out of material. The other thing that they recommended on the site was to give it a twist, over this right here. If you think about it, there's the string, and this has of course been used, but this pops out, and all it's done is fed through, and once you're done opening it up, it pops out. So the other thing they recommend is to twist this one. So if you get it back here, I should do it better. Give this a twist. It kind of gives you a little bit more tension right there over the wound site. Okay, and then you can really crank it down, and that'll put a lot of pressure right there where you want it. Okay, so you'll twist it, and you're almost out of space here, and you're going to want to twist it again, or however it takes. And then what you have is this cleat right here at the very end of it. It's stitched on there. And I'm going to hook on one side. This thing really locks in and bites in, especially if you hook both sides in. But you basically, as the instructions say, you can just take whatever material is left nearby and kind of hook that around it. And I'm going to do it kind of carefully. I want to be able to get it off of there. So you do it on that side, and then you swing around here and you hook it on. I'll just set it on there like that. But let's just say, let me set this up real quick, and of course you put that in there like that. See if we can get my arm in there. Let's say you got a bad cut right there, and your pressure bar. Again, this is where it gets a little tricky to do by yourself. So think about that, you know, or practice with it so you can actually do it. And it'd be a lot easier if this was if I still had the string on there. Let's twist it. Let's go around. Let's do this really fast. But you just crank that, and that's actually getting really tight already. Even me doing this very sloppily. So now you have this, you know, kind of a couple of feet of it left here. And if you had somebody working with you, or if you were helping somebody else, what you could actually do is, let's see if I might even be able to do this myself. And I'm gonna see if I can do this. Go around my neck. And maybe around it again quickly. Okay, so now what I've done here, let's get the camera up a little bit. And I'm not gonna lock this in because it's pretty tight. But you get your, close your bar here, setting it up. Doc's coming over to check it out. Now I've immobilized my arm while having a pressure bandage, so that's another advantage you got. So essentially just me sitting here, you know, my arm, and I could do this by myself, but you do need, again, this is why you train with these things, because you know it does take a little bit of coordination. You don't want to be learning this while you're you know, while you have an accident. So that's pretty much it. That's the Israeli bandage / emergency bandage, you know, and as you can see, the white color, the white coloring is nice if you're would be in an accident in an urban environment.